Welcome to Two Dudes, One Movie Podcast, the podcast where two dudes dive into cinematic masterpieces from a different decade each week. From black and white classics to modern day blockbusters, we'll be covering it all. And Rick, Halloween is just around the corner, so we have a special podcast planned for all of our loyal listeners out there. We are stepping off the beaten path of our regular scheduled programming, and we're diving into the cinematic realm of Halloween classics. Rick, this year, we're talking about Beetlejuice.
Park, I didn't even realize this was for a Halloween movie. I actually watch this movie to get ready for work every single day.
Rick, this is your hype movie in the morning.
Yeah, like people, they have like music or playlists to like drive to work. I work from home, so I get up, turn this on the TV, hour and a half right before work, and we go right into work with this movie on my mind.
I gotta tell you, so I get up. Becky has to be at work at 7, so I get up at 6-ish with her to get ready. And some days I work from home. I have a hybrid work schedule, but I always have downtime in the morning. And we have a HD kind of like antenna thing, so we can connect to like local channels. And there's a local channel here in the Atlanta metropolitan area that plays classic sitcom comedies all day. So
That's
at
awesome.
6 a.m. I turn it on and I'm watching Full House. And then at 8 a.m. the Brady Bunch comes on, and it's just a hoot. Let me tell you, I have a blast with it.
This feels very nostalgic, like you're getting ready for school.
I know. It takes me back to 3 p.m. ABC Family when I'd get home from school and turn on Full House.
That's the best.
Those were vibes. Those were immaculate vibes.
That's why I watch Beetlejuice, Park, every single day for the past 17 years.
Beetlejuice, Full House, Brady Bunch, they're the exact same.
They're the exact same content. There's no difference.
It's a big old family and a big old house.
Well, Park, near the end, I actually have a little surprise for you. This didn't make the cut, but I actually was going to try to tie in Beetlejuice with Uncle Jesse. It just didn't work out.
Wow, what are the odds of that? That's
It's
crazy.
crazy. Either way, Park, are you ready for the recap? It's been a minute.
Rick, I am so ready to hear a Rick recap. Please take it away for all of our listeners out there.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Oscar winner, Beetlejuice. Park, this movie challenges the ideas of what makes a movie. Beetlejuice is the roller coaster through the mind of Tim Burton, which is both haunting and amusing. It gives you answers to relatable questions, such as, what happens when I die? Why do I have the consistent dreams of giant snakes on Saturn? When will the tally man tally my bananas? There are only two types of Beetlejuice viewers, Park. Ones that think it is a waste of time, and ones that think it is classic Tim Burton genius.
Well, I can assure you, I am one of those.
I am also one of those, Park. I think we are I feel like we're the perfect viewers to have a discussion on this movie. I feel like we're on both ends of the spectrum.
It's almost like our debate episodes, but in normal podcast form now.
I know I feel like I need to be supportive now of your opinions. I can't just try to break them down because this isn't a debate, Park. We have to build each other up.
We do. It's all about watching old movies, learning about the history of cinema, exploring how it relates to modern day filmmaking, and also just dudes being bros.
Just dudes being bros. The debates, that's where we can break the tension, Park, and just, punch each other metaphorically.
Or physically, Rick. I'm sure the listeners would love to hear that as well.
You ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Rick, I've been waiting so long to hear those words again. Please, give it to me.
Hey, Parker, I'm going to give you my good just right off the bat. Is that okay?
I'd love to hear it.
Park, this movie is an Oscar winner. And when some people hear the word Oscar winner, that means that this movie has reached an achievement and it should be amazing. When I hear the words Oscar winner, I generally just think, honestly, I don't give a crap. Something you slap on a box, who cares? But Park, I don't know why I wrote that as my good. I feel like I should have been a bad. It's an Oscar winner. Park, this movie's peak Burton. I'm a Tim Burton fan. I've always been a Tim Burton fan. I feel like when we generally have differing opinions on directors. I feel like we should do a director. We did one director debate. I feel like we should do I feel like that could always be a series of some kind. Try to fit in our different directorial opinions. One of those things is I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, which I know you're iffy, even though I know you love you did like his last movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a pretty big, not as big as Wes Anderson, I'm a pretty big Tim Burton fan. Love Tim Burton movies. I think this is peak Burton. I think this is a top 2 Burton movie, Park. I think the depiction of the afterlife is incredibly original, and I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, there's like movies and shows today that almost like take that version of the afterlife of where it's almost just like very clerical, and it's like an office building kind of.
I mean, isn't that what the Spirited movie, the Christmas movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell?
There's that, and I never watched it, but isn't like one of the seasons of that Daniel Radcliffe like comedy show that like Miracle Workers? I think their first season has to do with.
I think so. I haven't seen either, so but I feel like I've seen something similar to that in the promotional packages that they share on whatever.
Yeah, so like right in my mind, I feel like that has to be inspiration from this. I cannot imagine. I feel like a lot of reviews. I like reading reviews of movies in the year they came out, and a lot of reviews that I saw of this movie have to do with that depiction of the afterlife being like really original, and I think it's very clever. Freaking love the music, Park. It was banging.
Yeah.
I think that opponents of this movie would say that the plot, like what is it? The plot's a little broken. People might say Beetlejuice is the weakest part. People might say these things, Park, but in the end, I don't care, Park. I think it's okay if the logic and the plot go off the rails, as long as something is grounded. And emotion is grounded in this movie, Park. I think emotion's real in this movie.
Rick, I would be the person that would say all of those things.
I know, Park.
But we're on our good right now. So I am trying to I tried to muster up some good for this movie. If it's not apparent already to all of our listeners out there, I'm not the biggest fan of Beetlejuice. Not really the biggest fan of Tim Burton. I'm not a big Tim Burton guy. But this was my first time watching Beetlejuice. This was my first exposure to it. I've heard about it for many, many years. Never got around to it. Never really seek out Tim Burton movies, but nonetheless, I suggested it for our Halloween movie. I thought this might be the time to give it a shot, and a shot it was given.
I'm very happy you suggested this.
Yeah, Rick. Well, here's my good for this film. Number one, it ended, so that was really great. Number two, it is wildly original and stylized, and for all of the production design and costumers and hair and makeup folks, I can appreciate all of the hard work that they did there in the conceptualization process that Tim Burton did for this film. And then finally, Rick, I have to be honest about this. I actually really like the idea of the movie and the basic concept of this couple passing away together, and they're kind of stuck in their house, and a new family moves into the house, and they have to haunt it to try and scare them away because they don't want this family in their house. I like that concept. I think it's really interesting. It's just done in Tim Burton style, and I don't like the Tim Burton style and the not weird, but kind of aloof tone and interesting visual language that Tim Burton is known for. And then, of course, there are other problems that I will share about as we move along into our bad and uglies. But Rick, those were a few of the goods that I was able to muster up from this film.
Makes me sad that you had to muster them up, Park.
Rick, I really had to muster them up. For a long time, that list just said it ended. I will admit I really enjoyed that part. So
when it ended, honestly, I thought the ending itself, I think, was a little weak.
No, yeah. I mean, the ending itself is weak. The third act, the climax of the movie, is not very impressive either. I just meant when it was over and I could turn it off is what I meant by that comment.
I gotcha, Park. I'm just a little disappointed, Park.
I know you're disappointed, Rick. I know. I hate to disappoint you, but sometimes...
It's okay. I'm not going to debate you. But I will break down my favorite song in the movie, called Banana Boat, if you didn't know, Park.
Rick, is this part of your good still, I would assume?
I'm sorry. This is our transition to bad. I just forgot about it.
Okay.
So, Park, daylight come and we want to go home. What do you think that means?
Daylight come and we want to go home. I think it means the work day is coming to an end and it's time to go home.
It's true. And then we work all night on a drink of rum. We stack banana till the morning come, Park.
Are you asking me what I think that is?
I am.
Well, I think it's probably an alcoholic who has some like banana pudding or something with him as well.
Close. I think it's dock workers and they're loading up a banana boat. Like literally. Like they're and then at the end of the day, they work all night. The morning comes and they're like, hey, Mr. Tallyman, tally my bananas. So then they get paid and go home. Lyrical genius. That's all we have to say there.
Wow. I'm so glad that you I'm so glad you spent a good 2 minutes breaking down some of the lyrics of that song.
I thought it was necessary.
I think all of our listeners would agree it probably is.
I think all of our listeners should. Let's see. We're past the 5 minutes. Pause our podcast right now and then play this song before you continue.
You know, we could just play the song in the middle of our podcast. I guess that's kind of copyright, so maybe we don't have the rights to that. We could try singing it, though.
Park, you can if you want to.
I don't really know the lyrics, even though we were just saying some of them.
Well, welcome back to the podcast after you listen to the song. Parker, how about you take away with the bad?
Of course, Rick. So, first and foremost, number one on my bad list, some of the visual effects don't hold up. Obviously, I'm sure it was pretty compelling special effects or visual effects work done back in that day and age, but it doesn't hold up well. Not a super big deal, but it is part of my bad. The story structure is incoherent at times, and like Rick was saying, the plot itself is very messy. It kind of meanders and goes in a bunch of different directions, and I'm not the type of person that necessarily loves a meandering plot. Even when there are movies that is the point of it, I like narratively for a story to have a nice tight structure and to be building towards something in that 3-act structure that is a tried and true formula. So that's another bad. And then Rick, probably the biggest bad for me, and this is borderline ugly, the character that's the title of the movie that is what this movie is supposed to be all about, at least when you hear about it and you think about it, is literally like a side character, antagonist character, but he's not even really the real antagonist of the movie. He doesn't show up for like the first hour of the movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has less than 30 minutes of screen time.
I think it's 20 minutes.
20 minutes of screen time,
20
Rick.
minutes on. I think it's 20 minutes on camera.
The movie is called this character's name, and he's only in 20 minutes of the film. And might I say, thank goodness he's only in 20 minutes of the film, because it's the most obnoxious character I've ever seen on a film screen. It's just
Park, all you just listed are all intentional. Completely.
It doesn't matter if they're intentional or not.
That's the point of the movie.
It's not my cup of tea, and that's why it's on my subjective bad list. Not objective, subjective.
I will say, after I did research, I don't think the visual effects were done like that just for the time period. I think they're done like that just because it's Tim Burton.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the kind of stop motion animation incorporation within the live action realm.
Some of the stuff looked really, to me, it looked similar to the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I was thinking more of when they died and they step out of their house for the first time, and he ends up in that underground, that green screen effect. Whenever the green screen was incorporated, just didn't hold up.
I gotcha. Parker, I don't like your subjective opinions, but it's okay because it's subjective. Well, Parker, I wanted more info on the handbook of the recently deceased. I just wanted more lore on the afterlife in general. I feel like there was a lot we could have gotten there. Honestly, what I wish that part of I wish I could like take a class in college that was based on the handbook of the recently deceased.
Rick, you should try and find it on Amazon. See if you can find Book of the
So I
Handbook of
searched
the
it,
Recently
Park. Of
Deceased.
course, you know me. I already Googled this. The most popular selling thing for Book of the Recently Deceased, there's like a purse that like kind of looks like the book, and it has like the book title on it, and it's from Hot Topic. It was a bestseller for a while.
Of course, it's from Hot Topic. Where else would it be?
It has to be from Hot Topic.
That's something, Rick. Thank you for doing that research for us. You brought your A game this week for all of our listeners for this Halloween special. You really put in a lot of work for this podcast.
Well, Park, I thought it would be ironic if out of all of the movies and topics we've ever talked about, this is where I did my most research.
Yeah,
so it was purposeful.
It's perfect, just like Tim Burton.
It's true. Well, Park, my ugly was nothing. Your turn.
My ugly, I did move it to my ugly. It's Beetlejuice. Just also, his name is spelled different in the movie than the title of the movie, and I don't know why.
I don't know. I was thinking of that before we got on the podcast, and I should have looked that up.
I just probably because the executives at the studio were like, you can't name it that. They won't even know how to. The average audience member won't even know how to pronounce it.
That's what I bet it is. I think it has to do with like, because there's so many things. Like we could discuss a whole podcast of the ways that things are framed towards the American consumer than like framed towards the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is just like an example of they couldn't do that to the American consumer because we're stupid.
Yeah, but it's just his character's just ugly, and not even visually, just emotionally.
Similar to his character in the McDonald's movie, I would say.
Yeah, well, I would still put that Michael Keaton movie above this one, Rick.
Who would you rather be your father? Jack Frost, Michael Keaton, or Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton?
The McDonald's Michael Keaton, because even if we have a terrible relationship, I'm the heir to McDonald's.
Well, I think the wife gave all the money away? Doesn't like a charity on McDonald's now? I don't really know how that worked.
Yeah, I don't know either. Whatever. I probably could have at least gotten like free McDonald's growing up. So
that's true. That's a fair point.
It's a perk.
Yeah.
What's my perk with Beetlejuice?
You can all you have to do is say Beetlejuice and he'll go away.
That's fair.
If you're ever tired of him.
It's funny, Rick. I tried that multiple times during the film itself, and it didn't work. It just kept on going.
Well, part because we were looking at his world. If he was in our world, on our plane of our world today, then I think it would have stopped.
That's fair.
Or if he married a girl, I guess, in our world.
Also, Rick, you know what was really weird? This is totally a tangent, but in the movie when Beetlejuice is trying to get Winona Ryder's character, who I believe her name is Lydia, to summon him so that she can get his help, he won't tell her his name because he doesn't want it to get out and everybody to know about it. So he won't tell her, but he also wants her to say it, and he's giving her hints on on the name. So she's gonna know the name anyway. So I don't understand, why doesn't he just say the name?
Park, my understanding is that I don't think he can tell, like with his mouth, tell someone to say it. So it was like a tactic to get her to say it.
Really? Was that explained in the movie?
That's just my understanding of the character of Beetlejuice.
Oh, maybe I missed that, but maybe it wasn't clearly explained in the film, like 90 other things in this film, Rick.
I think it was explained well, Park. Maybe you just missed it because you were sulking so much in your hatred.
I was sulking.
Rick, it was like when we watched that freaking, what movie did I hate? That from the last one that I was so mad during the entire movie. I don't even know what it was called.
I can't remember, but it was our 2010s movie.
Was it Keanu Reeves? Who was that? Was it someone else?
No, it was Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's okay. I understand how you felt, if you felt similarly to me during that movie.
Yeah, this is probably the closest I felt to you with that movie. This next segment is actually a new segment that we are going to introduce in season 2 of the podcast. We're currently halfway through filming our season 2 for all of you wonderful listeners out there. But the segment is going to be called Then and Now. And it's a segment where we talk about the differences and similarities to the genre from movies back then to movies now. Pretty simple. Simple enough, wouldn't you say, Rick?
It is pretty simple. I honestly forgot this was just for the for our season 2. I'm glad you remember that.
I know. It is a season 2 regular. But for now, Rick, you said that you kind of were incorporating your Rick rant into this section. So I'm just going to kind of hand the baton off to you. And Rick, why don't you give us a little wonderful rant that also incorporates the then and now into it?
I'm going to take you on a little trip.
Take me on a trip.
To 1980s. Now, Hollywood didn't necessarily know if like superheroes, if comic books, if those things were really going to work out on the big screen. Burton wanted a Batman movie, Park. Around 1985, 1984, Burton was trying to get Warner Bros. So he could write a Batman movie. Now, following the big hits, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Warner Bros. Was like, hey, Tim Burton, he's kind of good. He's good at this directorial thing. It made us a bunch of money. Warner Bros. Gave him the okay. I don't know if Pee-wee's Big Adventure is Warner Bros. No idea. They gave him the okay to write a script, but because they weren't just so sold yet, Park. Also, this information is fact, by the way. I'd fact check this with multiple sources. That they gave him authority to write a script, and that there was a lot of internal sources that said they were not so sold on this. Now, Park, join me to March of 1988. Beetlejuice releases.
All right.
This is a hit, Park.
I don't know how. It's probably one of life's greatest mysteries to me. I don't understand.
Park, that's the 1980s, though, isn't it?
I guess everyone was just like drugged out of their mind going to the theater or something.
I guess so, Park. But Beetlejuice was a hit. March of 1988, that's when it came out. So Warner Bros. Was like, wow, Tim Burton, he's it. We are going to make so much money off Tim Burton. They gave him however much money to start filming Batman in October of 1988, followed by the success of Beetlejuice. So Beetlejuice, yes, you heard that right, literally led to Batman being filmed, which Batman and Batman Returns, which came out later in 1989, both began what we call Batmania, Park.
Yes.
$1 billion worth if you combine the total box office with merch sold within I think a 4 to 5 year span of both Batman movies. It's over $1 billion worth, all for good old Warner Bros. So Park, Beetlejuice was such a success that Warner Bros. Greenlit the Burton Batman. Would The Dark Knight have been made without the groundwork for Batman, Park? I don't know. Would Marvel movies have worked this well without the success of The Dark Knight? If there's no Dark Knight, would we have Marvel movies? And Park, would Disney have purchased Lucasfilm without the great success of Marvel? And that leads me to my final statement right here, Park. Is Tim Burton to blame for the fall of Hollywood today?
Interesting, Rick. That was an interesting domino that you just pushed right there. I will say this. I don't think that you can make that statement and that connection, because you could just backpedal even farther and say, isn't it Christopher Reeves and Superman the reason for the success of the superhero genre and the reason that Batman was even made?
Well, Warner Bros. Wasn't sold on it, I think, because of those movies, even though they were successes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can blame Tim Burton for the downfall of original concepts in Hollywood, because if there's anything that Tim Burton is, it's original concepts.
Well, that's why I think it's so fascinating that the fall of original concepts started with maybe the most original concept we've seen.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think it probably played a part because Batman was so successful, and it was the spawn of superhero franchises in a lot and ways. Batman obviously had the sequel, and then they rebooted.
They had a bunch of really bad sequels throughout the 80s and 90s.
I don't know if I haven't seen all of the older Batman movies, but are they did they just recast Michael Keaton and they kind of are playing it in the same world when Val Kilmer and George Clooney are the Batman, or are they rebooting Batman in those movies?
I also think it might be my understanding is Batman and Batman Returns were like that's still some people's favorite Batman movies for whatever reason today.
For a lot of people,
yeah,
Michael Keaton is their Batman.
Yeah. And then I think it's just like what we see with superhero movies. Like I think that is what started the like the almost just like we gotta get after like there's money in superhero movies. So then maybe they started rebooting and trying to figure out how to make this into a big old world.
Yeah, and then they fell on their faces royally with some of those sequels.
Yeah, they were really bad. And then I guess they kept probably trying to reboot after they were really bad.
But you know what, Rick? If Tim Burton and the Batman movies are the reason that I got my Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, then thank you, Tim Burton and Beetlejuice. That's all I can say.
Oh, that's all I wanted, Park.
That's all you wanted this whole way.
That was the goal. Is I just wanted you to say thank you to Beetlejuice.
You happy?
Park, this is actually all fake. Beetlejuice doesn't exist. We're reviewing a movie that's not there.
That would be wild. My whole life would be so much better because I wouldn't have ruined it watching that movie. That's a little dramatic, but you get where I'm going, listeners.
I will say that 100% of what I wrote down is not original thoughts. I definitely took this from different places. So don't destroy me if you find an article that also mentions would Disney have purchased Lucasfilm without Marvel movies.
No.
Honestly, I don't think they would have, but that's another question for another day.
You know, Rick, no, that was great though. I really appreciate the research that you did on that and kind of diving into that. And that's a nice little tease into our then and now. It's not going to quite be formatted like that in our future podcast, but you get the idea.
Mark, the sides of Twitter and Instagram I am on is much like the afterlife in a Tim Burton movie. You never know what you're going to get. Sandworms and cigarettes is what I call it, Park. I feel like that could be another podcast.
Sandworms and cigarettes. That is definitely a spin-off podcast. We need to copyright that right now.
And I feel like it's a t-shirt.
Or at least a t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah, we've Harkin and Sandworms and cigarettes.
Oh, man. Love our t-shirt ideas. One day when we actually have we already have a bunch of listeners, but when we have 1 million listeners, we're going to roll out our merch line, and it's going to be poppin'. That might be another shirt, Rick. Poppin'.
Oh, we can't get carried away now, Park.
And like our faces could be on popcorn kernels that are poppin'. Like our faces, our little animated faces that we have for our logo could be the kernels, and then the popcorn is popping above us. So we're in a bucket full of our faces.
Park, I don't know if I would want to wear that. I don't think I want to. I don't want to make a listener.
It's heavily.
But if they're going to buy it, if they want it, sure.
It's heavily stylized, kind of like Tim Burton. I think my mind is moving into the Tim Burton realm for that.
Parker, I'm going to laugh if like you become like the next big thing in Hollywood, and the first article ever written about you is Parker Bonner, the next Tim Burton.
Rick, why do I feel like you would be the one to write that article just to put it out there?
I feel like even if your movies are not similar at all, I think that will try to push that article as hard as possible.
Well, Rick, since our little hiatus has been going on in between seasons, I have been making leeway in producing my first independent feature film, so that's exciting.
Park, I heard you didn't take. I offered I would say a very competitive payment to be an extra, but you didn't take me up on it.
No, I didn't take your offer because I'm not going to pay you to be an extra for 10 minutes in one scene.
Also, if we lived near each other, of course I would have done it for free, Park.
Rick, so kind. Yeah, well, for all those folks out there, I created a proof of concept short film, a majority of the first act of the feature film. We shot it over the course of the weekend. It was really smooth production, actually. And we got about 20 pages filmed and shot, which is super exciting. So moving into the editing process, and soon enough, the campaign will go live to start fundraising for a feature film budget, and then we will produce a feature film, Rick. Isn't that exciting?
It's so exciting, Park. You know, Park, I love this. Felt like it was like on like those the Tonight shows that they'll like kind of plug an Hot Wings show. They'll like plug what they're doing.
I feel like I did just like a really shameless plug right there, but at the same time,
I feel like I need to plainlessly. Whoa! I'll shamelessly plug something I'm working on, Park.
Rick, please.
I'm studying to be a sommelier, so follow me.
Rick, through that journey. What is a sommelier? Please explain it to all of our listeners out there.
Park, a sommelier is just a tour guide of wine, I would say.
Rick, I'll go on any tour you lead.
I'm also writing a children's book, not about wine, Park. Did you know that?
No.
Fun fact.
Why don't you tell me these things? Why do I have to learn about everything on the podcast?
I don't know. I guess I'll tell to you after.
Rick, wow. Well, clearly a lot of exciting things going on in both of our lives. And shameless.
End of the podcast. This is just
Now
like a little hiatus of the podcast to plug.
Now we have another 30 minutes of our podcast to go through. So glad we took that little detour.
Thanks for the it's like a commercial break. Thanks for the ad break. It's like a Tim Burton movie, Park, where we're off the rails.
It literally is. Our podcast is literally a Tim Burton movie right now. No, but obviously we both are just excited about some personal things going on in our lives, and we just wanted to keep all of our wonderful listeners in the loop, right?
Give Parker your money.
Yes,
that's what I wanted. That's what I want to happen.
That's really what it's all about.
Give Parker your money.
Give me the money, and then
give him Parker the money,
and then give Rick money as well.
Yeah, but we gotta make your movie first before anything, Parker. Come on,
Rick. I love the support. Thank you so much.
That's what we need.
Well, Rick, now that we've done those beautiful shameless plugs, we're gonna move on to another new segment. This segment is called Stupid Questions. STOOPID. So this is the fun part of the podcast where we ask each other stupid questions.
Only time we're allowed to have fun in the podcast.
Yeah, literally the only time. The other 90% of it is absolute misery.
Yep. Our producer makes us do it.
Yep. I have a question for you.
Oh, Park, give it to me.
If you were to die and the afterlife was like how Beetlejuice portrays it to be, and your body is basically what happened to your body when you were killed or died, how would you want to die? But you can't die in a boring way.
So first thing, as I'm going to kind of come up with my answer on the spot, I cannot die any form that like would be suicide, or else I would be forced to like work there in the afterlife. So I feel like I can't do that, Park. We can't commit suicide. I don't just want to work an office job while I'm in the afterlife. That'd be awful. Yeah. So what I would do is what I would choose. I would want to be in a Leonardo DiCaprio situation. When I mean that, I mean against a bear, not 25-year-old girls that he has like 28-year difference from. When I say Leonardo DiCaprio situation, I feel like I have to describe that.
Thank you for specifying.
So Bear, what is that movie called?
The Revenant.
Revenants. I was gonna say Remnant. That did not sound right.
That's because it wasn't.
I want to be in that kind of situation, but I would want to mix it with the movie Alien. I want to be in space and there's a bear. You said I could do whatever I want, right?
Yeah, Rick. Literally anything. So this is great.
So here's the plot line. I am traveling to go to Mars, to go live on Mars with Elon Musk. But it's his company. I'm not actually with Elon Musk. I at least have to ground this in some sort of reality, of course.
Makes sense.
And there's a bear on there. We're bringing a bear, and then the bear, it's kind of like the Alien movie, but with a bear. And then I break a beer bottle to try to fight the bear because he's about to attack me. I accidentally step into a bear trap that I set earlier in the day. So I have a bear trap kind of with a foot dangling on one of my legs.
Did you drag the bear trap with you into the afterlife?
Yes, I do. Drag it with me. So I have like kind of this like, little walk kind of thing going on. And then the bear, I would say, just eats my heart out. I feel like I need to keep my face, right?
That's fair. I could see you being heartless.
And depending on the situation, the bear would also be with me in the afterlife.
Are you insinuating that you were able to kill the bear as well?
Yeah, at the same time, while it's eating my heart out with the broken beer bottle.
That'd be fun if you guys were like buddies in the afterlife.
Yeah.
It's like your
like
dog.
A pet dog. Yeah.
Oh, Rick, that's so nice.
I know. So that's how I would die.
Well, I appreciate that. I came up with this question, but I don't have an answer to it. But when you were talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, it inspired me. And I think I want to die like the beginning of Inception, when just water is flying into that building.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is, but it's kind of cool looking at least.
That's true.
But then I guess I would be like, I'd probably just like every time I talked in the afterlife, water would fall out of my mouth because I drowned.
That'd be kind of cool, though.
I guess.
Do you think that like if water fell out of your mouth, the like real people would just see water just randomly spew out of the air? I feel like that'd be really fun.
That would be kind of fun. I'm down for it. I'll support that theory, Rick.
I almost want to change my answer that I want to die because I would feel like I would want to die in like the Smithsonian Museum or something, like somewhere where people like aren't there all the time at night, but they'll come during the day just so I could have fun and scare people.
So you want like a night of the museum?
That's actually my dream, is to be Ben Stiller at night at the museum.
Well, Rick, that's going to be a difficult dream to accomplish because that's a fictional movie.
It's true. It is true.
Hey, but don't let me stop your dreams.
Well, just get back to me in like 20 years. We'll see what happens.
That sounds like one of those YouTube videos where I was Ben Stiller night in the museum for a day or something,
It's
and then
24-hour challenge.
and then they just locked themselves in a Smithsonian.
They had their like friends or someone they like paid to dress up as the pharaoh. Rami Malek.
Yeah,
Was he the pharaoh?
I don't remember. I just know Owen Wilson was in it.
I'm pretty sure Rami Malek was the pharaoh.
That's incredible. Rick, I've got one more question for you, and then you have a question for us.
This is true.
Would you rather be stuck in eternity with Beetlejuice or Alec Baldwin?
That is so tough, Park.
It is. It is. It's not an easy one. I give you the tough questions.
If I'm stuck in eternity, does Alec Baldwin think I'm a director, or who does he think I am?
Gosh.
Sorry, that was
That's a loaded question right there, Rick.
Taste. I would have to be stuck with Alec Baldwin. Beetlejuice, as much as I love the movie, is absolutely horrifying. Like as a person, he's not like scary.
He'd be wildly annoying.
So Alec, I guess Alec is a little scary, but you know.
Yeah, can I just make a comment about that? I couldn't, when I realized I was Alec Baldwin, I just couldn't get over it. Like the fact that he at one point looked like a normal human is just incredible.
So I watched this movie for the first time pretty much this time last year, and I had that was the exact thing. I could not get over it, that I was Alec Baldwin.
He looked like a nice young man, and now he looks kind of like Beetlejuice in a way.
A little scary. Everything comes full circle in our lives, Park.
It does. It ain't that the truth.
Park, that brings us to my question.
Well, Rick, you didn't let me answer.
I didn't want to let you in. No kidding.
It's fine. I was gonna say Alec Baldwin too. I wasn't gonna like it, but that's my answer.
Do you have a reasoning?
No, nothing more than because I couldn't hardly get through a 2-hour Beetlejuice movie, so I don't think I could get through an eternity Beetlejuice life.
What's like another like absolutely disgusting character in Hollywood? I feel like that would be a good thing to compare. I just can't think of anything.
I don't know. It's not even like that. The disgusting. He's not. At least I don't think of him as like that disgusting. It was just like wildly obnoxious.
I guess that's the brand though. The little bits I've seen of the musical, that's also his brand in the musical, which is a very popular musical. I need to be closer to my mic, which is a very popular musical.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you to all of our listeners out there for getting up next to that pretty little mic of yours.
Yeah, I gotta tickle it sometimes, Park.
Ooh, Rick, you sound nice and loud and
crisp.
Buttery is actually what I was going to say, which is very different than crisp.
I feel like I could do a craft beer ad in this thing.
Do it right now.
I don't know if I could do that.
All right, Rick, we got one more question. You want to give it to us?
Thought of this question on the fly. What Michael Keaton character would you do tequila shots with? Batman's off the table.
You knew I was going to do Batman, which is a real shame. I can't even do like the Flash Batman, the old Batman.
I don't think you can do any Batman. So like Michael Keaton, I feel like recently is playing cool characters. Michael Keaton has a lot of little wacky guys in there, so we gotta pick a wacky one.
Yeah, Rick, I looked back at all of the old Michael Keaton movies to prepare for this question because I couldn't think of a lot of them, and I decided on a more recent film. I would take a tequila shot with Birdman.
It's a good one. Park, we watched that together. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we did.
I actually think we went on a little date. I think it was just you and me.
Probably. We used to do that back in the day when we lived in the same city. Those were good times before we had women in our lives.
I know, Park. Now we can't just go on dates. Just like if we were in the same city, we could still go on dates. But
hey, Rick, we're gonna go on a date this Thanksgiving. We're meeting an hour and a half in the middle of our
favorite place in the world.
My favorite place in the world. Everybody.
Some would say your ideal afterlife.
I mean, if I died and like woke up and was in this place, I wouldn't be mad. I'll tell you that. Cracker Barrel. We're going going to have Thanksgiving together in Cracker Barrel, and I couldn't be more excited.
I'm just going to have a beer in the Cracker Barrel so you're uncomfortable, Park.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. They're trying to get all trendy and modern, and I like my Cracker Barrels old-fashioned, Rick.
Well, Park can't be too old-fashioned. It gets a little sketchy.
Anyways, Birdman, that was my choice. I think he would be fun because he's an artist like myself in so many ways. I think we could vibe together.
When you say Birdman, do you mean like his little alter ego thingy in Birdman? Like
No, I just mean the artist, the director. But I don't know if he actually has a character name in that movie. On Google, it just says Birdman. So I don't think he's actually named in the film.
It is Birdman.
Yeah.
You're not going to guess what mine is.
Rick.
It's none other
Is it
than Jack Frost.
I was going to guess that. When you made that sly remark earlier in the podcast, I was like, that's the direction he's going, and I know it.
I remember having a warm, fuzzy feeling watching Jack Frost. Sorry, I have flashcards for some reason. I am actually studying, too, for wine. That's why I have flashcards.
Shameless
And
plug.
I like doing things with my hands during the podcast. You can't always tickle the mic. You got to do other things as well. So, yes, Jack Frost is my character. I feel like if I wanted some ice in my tequila shot, maybe I could grab a little. Is that frowned upon?
No.
Maybe that's not. Maybe that's
No. That's why Jack Frost is there.
That's true. Like I wouldn't take his nose or anything. I feel like that's frowned upon.
Why would you want a carrot for your? Does he have a carrot in that movie?
I think it's his carrot, isn't it?
Yeah, but that'd be me. Don't take a nose.
If you might want a carrot chaser, Park.
Just take like a piece of his thigh down towards the bottom.
Spall, we can't get that dirty snow. We got to get that crisp, clean snow, Park.
You're right. What am I thinking?
Park, this moves into our segment that our listeners know near and dear to their hearts.
Rick, there was no other fun activity that we could do for our Halloween special podcast in this one.
There is a little twist, though.
Yeah, what's the twist?
Have you ever played or like, I guess books, there was like those little books. I feel like games too. There's like choose your own adventure kind of things. That's what we're doing. In the AI script version, kinda. I'm going to let you choose what Beetlejuice-centered story you want to do. A Beetlejuice multiverse story, if you will.
Interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to read you 3 titles. You tell me which one that you really want to do. I have scripts for all of these, so don't think that I'm trying to make you choose one, Park. Okay?
All right.
So here's the titles. Beetlejuice's car sale catastrophe with Ken from Barbie. Beetlejuice's underwear hustle at the Tom Cruise nude beach. That,
All right.
literally, that I did not write that title, by the way. That is completely generated.
Of course it
based
is.
On,
of course it
little
is.
keywords. And lastly, I just breathe really loudly into the mic. This is good. I can't laugh while I say this. Oppenheimer and Beetlejuice's whimsical time travel wedding.
Oh man, I have to choose between one of these. Dang.
We could do. I think they're short, so we could do them all, or at least 2. So
I'm really intrigued by the last 2, but if I had to choose one, I think I'm gonna go with the Oppenheimer one first.
Also, Mark, what I did not mention. No matter the story, you are Beetlejuice, by the way.
Oh, great. Does that mean I have to try my Beetlejuice voice?
That is part of the... you can do whatever you want, Park, but I'm sorry. That's...
What does he sound like? Is he kind of like a chain smoker?
Yeah, very much. Like a chain smoker, used car salesman kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. I'll see what I can do. I'm not even going to try to admit that this is going to sound anything like Beetlejuice, but I'm going to do my own interpretation.
Well, I think the AI will guide you a little bit.
All right.
I guess I have to be Oppenheimer.
You are definitely Oppenheimer.
Okay. The top secret lab hums with activity as J. Robert Oppenheimer, a brilliant scientist, works diligently on the Manhattan Project. Beetlejuice, in his signature striped suit, materializes in a burst of smoke, determined to intervene.
Oppenheimer! Baby, we just started. We gotta talk.
Oppenheimer jumps, startled, turns to face the intruder. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Listen, I got a way better plan than building that bomb. How about we ditch the lab and get hitched?
Oppenheimer blinks in disbelief. You want me to stop working on the most important scientific project of our time and marry you?
Exactly. Imagine the honeymoon in the afterlife.
Oppenheimer considers the bizarre proposition for a moment, then a smile forms on his face. You know what, Beetlejuice? You're right. Life is too short, and love is a powerful force. Let's do it. There's zero development. It just happens. Beetlejuice's eyes widen in delight.
Yes. We're going to make history together.
With a wave of his hand, Beetlejuice conjures a bouquet of flowers in a vale, and the two of them start to exchange vows right there in the lab, surrounded by scientists and test equipment.
I now pronounce us weird and weirder.
The lab personnel applaud and cheer, embracing the union between Beetlejuice and Oppenheimer fade out.
Wow. That was beautiful.
I will say you nailed your impression on that last line, Park.
Did I?
I feel like you were there. Yeah, I feel like you were there.
I've become Beetlejuice. I am Beetlejuice.
I just love the little joke the AI tried to put with "I pronounce as weird and weirder." I don't know why. It just feels like it really tried to end off on a high note.
The character arc that we went on with Oppenheimer was just unreal. It was just beautiful.
It's almost like, to think about it, it just went so fast I didn't even realize it happened. It was like a few.
Isn't that life?
Line of dialogue.
Isn't that life and love?
It is life and love. Well, Park, shall we do, before we do anything else, because these are short scripts, my personal favorite?
Beetlejuice's underwear hustle at the Tom Cruise nude beach?
Yes.
Please, let's.
Now, I will say, I plugged into this. I went really straightforward with this. I had in my idea that I want Beetlejuice to try to sell underwear to Tom Cruise at a nude beach. So I plugged that into the AI.
That's fair.
Don't tell me how I thought of that, but I thought of it.
Rick, I don't even begin to question all of the little intricacies in your mind.
Again, you are Beetlejuice. I'm Tom Cruise.
Makes sense.
We introduce an open nude beach during the day. The sun shines brightly on this picturesque nude beach, with people lounging in the sand with everything hanging out in their birthday suits. Beetlejuice, sporting his wild hair and trademark suit, stands near the entrance, clutching a pile of colorful underwear. Tom Cruise, confident and casually dressed, strolls on by, enjoying the beach vibes.
Beetlejuice with a sly grin. Hey, Tom Cruise! Fancy some fashion-forward underwear to spruce up your beach day.
Tom Cruise stops and raises an eyebrow at Beetlejuice's unexpected offer. Underwear at a nude beach? Beetlejuice nods enthusiastically and displays the colorful assortment of underwear.
Exactly! These are all the latest trend in beachwear. Perfect for those who want to make a statement, but not go fully nude, if you know what I'm saying.
Tom Cruise chuckles, haha, and examines. I had the haha.
Great chuckle.
And examines the underwear, but remains doubtful. I've never seen anyone wear underwear at a nude beach before.
Beetlejuice smiling. That's the point, my friend. Stand out from the crowd. Be the trendsetter. Imagine the paparazzi snooping shots of you in these beauties.
Tom Cruise considers the idea, clearly amused by Beetlejuice's pitch. Well, I am known for my style. Snile?
Your style.
I am known for my style. How much for a pair? Beetlejuice rubs his hands together, eager to make a sale.
For you, Tom, a special price. Just $100 a pair.
Raises an eyebrow, clearly surprised by the steep price of underwear. $100 for underwear? That's quite the deal.
Trust me, Tom, it's worth every penny, and you'll be the talk of Hollywood.
Tom Cruise decides to humor Beetlejuice and purchase a couple pairs of the eccentric underwear. He hands over the cash, grinning. Well, Beetlejuice, you certainly know how to make a sale. Beetlejuice chuckles and watches Tom Cruise walk away, proudly sporting his new beachwear.
Another satisfied customer. Now, who's next? Fade out.
Fade out and scene. Park.
Rick.
That was it.
I hate Beetlejuice, but I enjoy impersonating him. It's kind of fun.
I feel like you would be hired to play. But there's like an age for like movies that they would always be crappy video games that would come out kind of alongside the movies.
Yeah.
If there's like a Beetlejuice video game, they wouldn't hire Keaton. They would just hire you to play it.
That'd be the knockoff version. I'd be honored. I'd be honored to be the
Or
knockoff
like the voice
version.
for like a McDonald's toy.
I'm in. As long as I get that money, that moolah.
Beetlejuice 2, let's go. Well, Park, this is the time that we rate this bad boy.
Rick, I've been looking forward to this all evening.
Pass, recommend, or rent is our choices today.
Rick, we added a new category there at the end. Rent? What does that even mean?
I feel like it's like a step up of recommends. I feel like if I'm saying I would rent this movie, I'm going to pay money. And sometimes that can go up to $5.99 if you're renting like right off of Apple Park.
That's true. Rick, I had to rent this movie the other day, and I spent $3.99 on it.
I love it so much more that I think that whatever if it was your turn to rent or not, I love it so much more that it was you that had to pay it.
Yeah, I have to live with that for the rest of my life. Rick, I think it's incredibly obvious what I'm going to choose here. I'm going to pass on this film. I don't think it's a necessity for people to see. I think there are better Halloween movies out there. I think there are better Tim Burton movies out there. I think there are better everythings out there. And I think that I don't understand how this is a classic. I don't. So, congratulations, Beetlejuice, for being a classic. But Beetlejuice, go back to where you're from.
Well, you said it 3 times, so you would just summon him actually right there. Anyways, Park.
Whatever.
It's okay if you pass. It's okay if you don't buy it or rent it. Because, Park, I'm not even going to rent it. I'm going to buy this baby. So whenever you come over, we can watch it. Whenever we want, Park.
Every time I come and visit,
you're
going to have it loaded up
time.
Loaded up and ready to go.
Yeah, Park. So yes, this is not even right. This is a buy. Because mainly I feel like this is it's a classic. When I grew up, there was no real like Halloween movies that I feel like I would watch consistently every October. Try to make that
Hocus Pocus.
I'm not a Hocus Pocus person. I don't like Hocus Pocus.
Rick, we are so different.
I know. I think that this movie would be my every year pick that I would watch around Halloween. Yes.
That disgusts me. That disgusts me, Rick.
Because I think it's fast. It tells you what it wants to say. I honestly think it's funny. I really enjoy this movie. I love the little dancing numbers, Park. I think if you have not watched this movie, or if you've already watched this movie, I think you got to watch it again, and you got to watch it tonight.
It's so incredible how we are on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum here. Like, you are as far one way as I am the other way.
I had the prediction. I'm actually dead serious about this prediction too. I think that and I'm going to adjust it a little bit to be more realistic. When we get to our 100th movie that we review on this podcast, maybe the podcast after, we're going to do like a little rating thing and kind of go over highlights of maybe where we rank.
If we remember.
In a way. If we remember. We will do the podcast, so don't worry. We're going to be here. I think after 100 movies we would do on this podcast. Because, again, that doesn't mean that we're just watching 100 greatest movies of all time. This podcast has all movies of all different spectrums.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Beetlejuice would be top 30 for me. There's no doubt in my mind, actually, that this would be top 30.
I can confidently say that it would not for me. It's not. We haven't even watched 30 movies on this podcast yet, and I can confidently tell you it's not in my top 30.
I do feel like we were the perfect people to discuss Beetlejuice, because I do think that those are the two sides. I don't think it's a movie, and maybe there are people. I don't necessarily think it's a movie that you can be super indifferent towards. Like, you watch it and you're like, I feel like you watch it and you're like, this movie was awful, or you watch it and you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that movie. I see why it was a classic.
No, I mean it's definitely a polarizing film for obvious reasons, and we both fit into that box perfectly. But you know what, Rick? Might not have been my film, but it brought us together for this podcast, and I'm all about that. So it's been an absolute pleasure sharing this cast with you yet another week. Good to be back.
Also, it gave birth to Disney Star Wars Park.
It's true. It's true. It's all true, Rick. More importantly, though, Rick, Beetlejuice brought us back to the original podcast format after our wonderful season hiatus.
Yes. Our little tussles, our debates.
Our little tussles and debates, yes, indeed. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to this format for season 2 in the very near future.
Park, I'm excited. You know, we just hung out the other weekend, Park. We had our little vacay together. We dreamed. We chatted.
We did.
We rested. And we're ready to get going.
We're
get
ready.
Going on season 2.
We're ready. The real question is, are you, the listener, ready? I don't know if you are. I really don't, but you will be.
When our audio quality dips a little bit for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Apologies to everyone out there. We record the first 3 or 4 episodes of season 2 on our old mic setup, and then we upgraded to what you are hearing today. So you'll have to deal with the
little sneak peek.
Yeah, you'll have to deal with the old sound for a little while. But hey, nostalgia. That's what we're about. Nostalgia. That's going to give you nostalgic vibes hearing that again.
That is true, Park.
Well, Rick, we're rambling. We've done a lot of that in this episode. But
we have.
But we've been having a good time. That's what it's all about. It's just having some fun, and we hope that you, the listener out there, have had some fun with us as well. But for now, I think it's time for us to sign off. So you've been listening to Two Dudes, One Movie Podcast, the podcast where two dudes dive into cinematic masterpieces from a different decade each week. From black and white classics to modern day blockbusters, we'll be covering it all. This has been the Beetlejuice Podcast. My name is Parker. My co-host over there, Rick the Third. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.